Welcome to Parking Lot Profiles with Tenring. In these days of COVID, where the truck shows have stopped and the truck stops have made it hard for us to sit down at a diner and get to know each other, I'm going to bring along some friends that I do know and meet some new friends along the way. I'm going to talk to them about everyday life and everyday things. I hope you enjoy this little series of mine. This week's video is with Candy Bass. She's got a lot of stories about what it was like when she first started, what it's like now, and what she has plans for in the future. Candy Bass is a very good friend of mine, and I love spending time with her every time we get a chance to get together. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe to them so that I can do more of them. I have plans to do more. I would like to do more. But the more you like and subscribe to them, the better chance you have of getting them. Thank you. Just, I want to talk to the driver, not the citizen driver, not the one that everybody knows. Okay? I want to know what makes you tick.
I couldn't tell you.
When did you start driving and why?
Oh, no, I can tell you that.
Okay.
Do I need to start now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was a apartment manager in Houston, Texas. My ex-husband was head of maintenance, and he decided he wanted to drive a truck. And I said, "You're not leaving me behind." He said, "You don't even know what a truck is." I said, "That's okay." He said, "If you get in that truck, you're going to have to drive it." I said, "Well, I guess you're going to have to teach me." So in Texas, I lived in Houston, and in Texas, you had to take a driving test. And it had to be, it could be a Ryder truck that had a stick shift. So we went over to Ryder, and we told them what I was needing, and at the time I only weighed 95 pounds. And the guy looked at me and he said, "You're going to do what?" And I said, "I'm going up here 5 blocks to see about getting my commercial chauffeurs, and he's going to teach me how to drive a truck." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you this truck, and you can take it up there and then bring it back. I'm not going to charge anything if that's what you're going to do." So I had 5 blocks to learn how to drive a stick shift. And it was a 5-speed. So I got up there, I took the test, and there was like 15 questions. I do not know why I passed. All I did was guess, because I knew nothing about a semi. And so I just answered the questions that sounded, and they were multiple choice, so I just picked the ones that sounded logical.
Right.
And I passed. So then the cop come out and he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." So I got in there. I went wherever he wanted me to go, and then I come back and I asked him, I said, "Did I pass the driving test?" He said, "Yes, you passed the test." He said, "I think what it is, the reason you were having a little bit of trouble is I think you're used to a 13-speed. I said, "You are so right."
Never even saw one.
Didn't even know what he was talking about, but it sounded good, so I agreed with
Right.
it. And that way I could get my license. So they gave me my license, and then Chuck started teaching me how to drive. I had been driving maybe 200 miles when we were coming through Atlanta. And that was because this is 1974. So we could go through Atlanta at that time without any problems. You could go around or you could go through. Well, we were going through, and this is a cab over, and he's hollering at me, "There's a cop coming at you." So the next thing he knew, he was on the doghouse, because I hit the brakes. He said, "What did you do that for?" I said, "You said there was a cop coming at me." He said, Yeah, but he's on the other side. He'd have to jump the barriers and the fence. I said, well, all I knew, you said there was a cop coming at you. So that meant slam on the brakes.
Right.
And so when I started driving, when I'd see a truck coming up behind me, I'd get over on the shoulder. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm giving him all the room he can handle. He said, he's not going to run over you. I said, I don't care. I want to make sure he has nothing. Which I don't do that now.
Right.
So I go to Pet Foods. The part of Pet Foods does TV dinners. So I go to Pet Foods, and I thought, man, maybe I better go into the office first before I go do this drop and hook thing. So I go up to the office, and I told her who I was and what I was there for and everything. And she said, oh, do you have an empty? I said, oh, yeah. She said, well, I need it in Dock 3. And I went, I said, is there any drivers around here? She said, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of them in the driver's room. So I went to the driver's room, and I said, is there anybody in here that knows how to back up a trailer? And this guy said, yeah, why? I said, well, this company sent a driver over here, said that it was just going to be a drop and hook, and now they need it in a dock, and they knew that driver didn't know how to back up a trailer. The guy said, is that you? I said, yeah, that's me. And he said, okay, come on, I'll back it in for you. So he backed it in for me. I had 16 drops of Pet Foods, TV dinners.
How did you guys used to plan your trips back then? Did you carry around a bag full of maps and a chart? I know you had
up until a couple of years ago, I still had city maps because GPS can put you in a bad
especially
spot.
The first ones, yes.
Well, no, my GPS will still put me on a road I can't go on. And I have a Rand McNally.
And it's good that you know that because you don't trust it.
Because what I do, I have two GPSs. I have the Rand McNally for the truck. I have a Garmin for a car because it gives me more streets. And then I have my phone. So when I want to know something, I do all three of them. And then I look to see what Rand McNally says and what Garmin says, and then what my phone. Because the place that I went to in Russellville, Kentucky, the only way I could get there the right way was my phone. Because I don't know where my GPS was sending me. Because none of it made sense. And I could see where it was on my phone because I have a picture of the company and all the streets and everything, and I knew that GPS was sending me.
Somewhere loopy.
I don't know where it was going to end. When I was at Martin Transport, because I've been driving so long, some of the drivers knew that I knew just about where the best routes were, so they named me OnStar.
Right.
And so they would call me up and say, well, I need OnStar. Okay, where are you going? And most of the time I didn't have to look at a map. I already knew the highways and the roads and stuff. And I just tell them, this is the best way to go. If you don't want to go that way, that's up to you. But this is the best way to go. And they'd say, okay, thank you. But yeah, instead, they'd either call me to talk to me just for conversation. Or if they needed something, they decided that I was on. I paid my dues.
Right.
17 years at Hunts Point Market is enough.
Right.
And I've been to Chelsea Market, Boston Market, Chicago Market. When the real Chicago Market was there. I was down in New Orleans at that market, called my boss. I got in there before daylight to get rid of the lettuce, and it takes them quite a while. And then when you're in that market, it's very, very small. And then all the people come in because it's time for them to work in the market. I called my boss and told him, I said, we may have a problem. I may need a crane. And he said, why? I said, because I'm buried in cars. And the guy that owned the place where I was unloading the lettuce, he said, run over that guy. I said, that's an MG. That's a BMW. That's a this. You think I'm going to run over them? I got news for you. I think the best thing for us to do is go in that market and holler or do something to get them to move them vehicles. So I could, and what it was, the market was in the middle, so you had to go around to get out. And they were parked all around there. And I have pictures of my truck in there.
You ever been weather-related stranded for more than, say, 2 or 3 days out in the middle of nowhere?
No, because I pay attention.
Pay attention to the weather.
I pay attention to what's going on. Now I'll be stranded in Rollins at the truck stop,
Right.
and I might be stranded in Laramie at the truck stop, but I'm not going to be stranded on top of Elk Mountain.
Right.
Because I pay attention.
Especially now that we have the options and the phone apps and the radar and everything.
Well, even back then we had the CB and people
Right.
talked, and I never. There's been a couple of times we were stranded. We couldn't get inside the truck stop, but I always had food, water, and stuff to drink, to where if we were out on the highway, I could feed everybody.
Right.
I didn't have to worry. We didn't have coolers then. We just had stuff we had to throw ice in
Right.
if we kept something that needed to be cold.
What were the showers like
When I
at other places?
When I first started driving in '74, I think until maybe '77, they were in the men's bathroom.
So you had to go in the men's bathroom.
So I
and
had to
take a
get
shower.
somebody to watch the men's bathroom so I could take a shower. Now about '77, the TAs, not Petros, because that was a
Right.
Texas thing. The TAs, most of them, especially on the East Coast, had motel rooms. So when they realized that there were women drivers, when I would go in there, they'd give me a motel room to go take my shower. That's why I was kind of partial to TAs, is because they treated women drivers really good. Now, if I went to a Union 76 truck stop,
Right.
I couldn't get waited on to pay for my fuel. I couldn't get waited on to get my food. They ignored us completely. If I wanted to pay for fuel, I had to go get a manager and tell him, look, I'm trying to pay for fuel. My boss would be very glad if you'll let me have it for free. I said, but I'm trying to pay for it, and she won't. She keeps going around me. And the Husky truck stop was like that. The Flying J in Amarillo, that was a Husky truck stop. The Flying J in Barstow, California, that was a Husky truck stop. Now the one in Barstow, they treated the women drivers really great, because I don't think we gave them a choice. Because by the time we got to California, there was a bunch of us together. But the Husky at Amarillo, I had the same problem there. I'd have to go get somebody so I could pay for my food, or even get waited on. They didn't want no part of us.
And that was up until 78-ish?
Somewhere right there. Now, I think it was 1980 is when they started putting just showers, where that way it didn't matter, men or women.
So, what keeps you going after all this time?
Well, I like my company, and I like the people that I work with, and I like my mechanics and stuff. And if I went home, I'd be by myself,
Right.
because everybody works. There would be no, so I don't see any sense in going home, because who wants to sit in the house all by yourself?
Right.
And you can only do so much shopping.
Right.